Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep on something a little different. We're diving into the world of the FN SCAR.
The FN SCAR.
Yeah, the Special Operations Forces Combat Assault Rifle. You know, that rifle family that's been making waves all over the globe.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one. Pretty interesting piece of tech.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it than you might think. It's seen action everywhere, from the mountains of Afghanistan to, well, some pretty intense situations closer to home.
Those are home.
Think about the Mexican drug war, that kind of thing. We'll get to that later.
Sounds intense. I'm ready to learn more.
Okay, so before we get into all the action and controversy, let's start with the basics. What exactly is the FN SCAR?
So, at its core, the FN SCAR is a family of gas-operated, short-stroke gas piston automatic rifles. But the real kicker, it's the modularity.
Modularity.
Yeah, you can swap out parts, like barrels, stocks, even calibers. So you can tailor it to fit just about any mission or situation.
So it's not just one rifle, it's a whole system, like a Lego set for soldiers.
Exactly, you got it. And this system actually branches off into two main types.
Oh, so it's like a family tree of rifles.
Kind of, yeah. You've got the SCAR-L, the light version, which uses 5.56 by 4 to 5 millimeter NATO rounds.
Okay, so standard NATO ammo.
Right, and then you have the SCAR-H for heavy. That one uses the 7.62 by 5.1 millimeter NATO round, so a bit more punch.
Got it. So two main branches, SCAR-L and SCAR-H. But you mentioned something about variations within those types.
Right, so both the L and the H come in a few different flavors. You've got the CQC for close quarters combat.
Makes sense. Short and sweet for tight situations.
Yeah. Then there's the STD, the standard variant, and of course the LB,
LB.
long barrel, for those engagements where you need that extra reach.
Wow, so many options. It's no wonder USOCOM, U.S. Special Operations Command, got interested in this back in the day.
Absolutely. They were looking for something cutting edge, and FN Herstal, the company that makes the SCAR, stepped up.
FN Herstal, they're the ones behind this.
Yep, based out of Belgium.
Yeah.
Anyway, they won that competition and landed a sweet deal with USOCOM.
So the SCAR is a winner from the get-go.
It was a pretty big deal for them. Got the SCAR out there on the front lines, gave it a solid reputation. It was known for being reliable and super adaptable, just what USOCOM needed.
Okay, so everything's going great. The SCAR's a hit. What happened next?
Well, that's where things take a bit of a turn.
Oh, so there's drama.
You could say that. In 2010, USOCOM dropped a bit of a bombshell. They canceled their purchase of the SCAR.
Wait, what? They just ditched it? Why would they do that?
Budget issues were part of it. And, well, they said the SCAR wasn't really outperforming the other 5.56 millimeter rifles they already had. Not enough to justify the extra cost, anyway.
So basically they're saying it wasn't worth the price tag.
That was their argument. But, a lot of people disagreed.
Really?
Oh, yeah, some folks thought USOCOM was missing the bigger picture. Like, sure, it might not be a huge upgrade right now, but what about the long game?
The long game.
The potential for future upgrades, taking advantage of that modularity we talked about. It's a whole system that could evolve, but they kind of pulled the plug.
Okay, so things are getting complicated.
Yeah, but there's another twist. USOCOM might have dropped the SCAR-L, but they kept buying the SCAR-H.
Interesting. So they're still on board with the heavier version.
They even developed these 5.56 millimeter conversion kits for the SCAR-H, so it could basically do the job of the SCAR-L if they needed it to.
So in a way, they're keeping that 5.56 capability around.
Exactly. It shows you how versatile the SCAR platform really is.
Okay, this is already a wild ride. So where does the SCAR go from here? I mean, if USOCOM's backing off, is it game over?
Not even close.
Oh.
The SCAR's story is just getting started. Despite all the back and forth with USXCOM, it's actually used by over 20 countries worldwide.
So it went global.
Big time. It's
Yeah.
a global player in the world of firearms. But that's a story for the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, I'm definitely hooked. We'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll dive deeper into the SCAR's journey beyond USOCOM. Stay tuned. Okay, so the SCAR's gone global. But what makes it so appealing to all these different countries?
Well, like we talked about earlier, modularity is a big part of it. Being able to adapt a rifle to different situations, that's huge on a battlefield.
We've talked about it conceptually, but can you give me some real-world examples? How does that modularity actually work in practice?
Let's say you've got a squad operating in a city, tight spaces, close quarters combat. They might go for that CQC variant, the shorter barrel for better maneuverability.
So you can switch out barrels in the field.
Absolutely. And it's not just the barrel. They might swap out the sight, maybe add a foregrip for better control during rapid fire.
So they're basically customizing the rifle on the fly.
Yeah, they're tailoring it to the mission. Now, let's say that same squad gets deployed to a more open environment. Longer engagement.
Do they need a whole new rifle?
Nope. They just swap out that short barrel for a longer one, maybe the LB variant. Get that increased accuracy at distance.
And they can do all this themselves.
Exactly. It's like having a toolbox right there in the rifle itself. But modularity is not the only thing going for the SCAR.
There's more.
Oh yeah, this thing's packed with clever design features. Take the short stroke gas piston system, for example.
I've heard of that, but I'm not entirely sure how it works.
It's all about using the gas from the fired round to cycle the action, keeps things cleaner, runs smoother, especially in tough conditions. Think sand, dust, that sort of thing.
So it's built tough, reliable in a firefight.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And then there's the reciprocating charging handle.
Meaning it moves back and forth with each shot?
Yep. Might seem like a small thing, but it means you can put the handle on either side of the rifle.
So lefties aren't left out.
Exactly. Ambidextrous design makes it comfortable and easy to use for anyone. And when it comes to comfort, the SCAR's got ergonomics down pat.
Ergonomics? You mean like how it feels to hold and shoot?
Exactly. Things like an adjustable cheek rest and length of pull, all to make sure it fits just right.
Makes sense. And uncomfortable rifles, no good to anyone.
Especially in a combat situation. The SCAR's designed to feel like an extension of the soldier's body, not some clunky piece of equipment.
It's all about maximizing effectiveness.
Right. And to add to that versatility, you've got the folding stock.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. What's the point of folding the stock?
It's all about making it more compact, easier to carry, store, especially in tight spaces, like if you're jumping out of a plane or riding in a vehicle.
Makes sense? But you can still fire it with the stock folded.
Absolutely. It's all about adapting to the situation. So you've got modularity, reliability, comfort, compactness. But what about accuracy?
Yeah, hitting the target's kind of important, right?
Couldn't agree more. And the SCAR delivers on that front. One of the key factors is the free-floating barrel.
Free-floating?
It means the barrel's only attached to the rifle at the receiver end. Doesn't touch anything else.
Why is that so important for accuracy?
Well, if the barrel's touching other parts, it can flex and vibrate when you fire, throws off the bullet's trajectory.
So the free-floating barrel keeps things stable.
Exactly. More consistent vibrations, more predictable bullet flight, better accuracy, especially with those longer barrels.
Longer barrel, better accuracy.
Generally speaking, yeah. More time for the bullet to accelerate and stabilize. Less bullet drop over distance.
So if you're sniping from a distance, you want the long barrel SCAR H variant.
That'd be a good choice, yeah. Long barrel, good scope, that's a recipe for precision. So we've talked about modularity, reliability, ergonomics, compactness, and accuracy.
It's like the SCAR's trying to be the best at everything.
It's definitely an all-rounder. But now I think it's time to move on to the SCAR's performance in the real world.
You mean how it's actually used in combat? I'm ready for that.
Let's dive into some operational history.
All right, so we've talked about the SCAR's design, its features, its global popularity. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How's it performed in actual combat?
That's the real test, right? And the SCAR's been through a lot. Seen action in some pretty intense situations.
We touched on Afghanistan and the Mexican drug war, but can you give me some more specific examples, like missions where the SCAR really made a difference?
Well, a lot of the details are classified, understandably, but there are a few cases that stand out. One that comes to mind is Operation Neptune Spear.
Wait, you mean the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound?
That's the one, and reports indicate that the SEALs involved were using the SCAR H.
Wow, high-stakes mission. Why the SCAR H specifically?
Think about it. You need precision, reliability, and stopping power in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And the SCAR H, with that 7.62 by 51 millimeter NATO round, that's a serious punch.
Yeah, you need something that can take down a target even if they're behind cover or wearing armor.
Exactly. And in that kind of close quarters combat, the shorter barrel variants of the SCAR H would have been ideal for maneuverability.
So they could clear rooms, engage targets quickly. Makes sense.
We may not have all the details, but it's clear the SCAR H performed under pressure that night.
That's a pretty powerful example. But the SCAR's seen action in a lot more than just that one raid, right?
Oh, yeah. It's been all over the world. Special forces, militaries, counterinsurgency, counter-narcotics, you name it. And that's what makes the SCAR so interesting. It can adapt to all these different situations.
You keep mentioning adaptability. Can you give me some examples of how that modularity plays out in the field?
Okay, imagine a unit operating in Afghanistan, mountainous terrain. They might need to engage targets at close range and then suddenly need to reach out and touch someone a few hundred meters away.
Our situation.
With the SCAR, they can start with a standard setup for patrols, close quarters stuff, but if they need to engage at longer distances, they can swap out that barrel for the LB variant, add a scope, and they're good to go.
All in the field.
Yep. Change it up as needed, adapt to the situation. That's why so many countries are choosing the SCAR. It's reliable, it's accurate, and it's flexible.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of rifles.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's the future hold for this SCAR? Will it stay relevant with all the new tech coming out all the time?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think it's got a good chance. FN Herstal's not sitting still. They're always upgrading, adding new features, improving the design.
So it's not just a one-and-done kind of deal. It's constantly evolving.
Exactly. And the core strengths, the modularity, the reliability, the ergonomics, those aren't going out of style anytime soon.
That's a good point.
We've already seen new variants pop up, like those chambered in 6.5mm Creedmoor, which is known for its accuracy at long ranges.
So the SCAR's keeping up with the times. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. We've learned a lot about the FNN SCAR, from its design and development to its impact on the battlefield.
It's been a pleasure sharing my knowledge.
And for our listeners, if you're interested in learning more, there's a ton of information out there. Technical specs, historical accounts, even some pretty heated debates about the SCAR's pros and cons.
Always more to discover.
Exactly. So keep those minds curious, folks. This is The Deep Dive, signing off.